Hi, I'm Mary Cross, and welcome to the Building Bliss podcast. I'm very excited today because we have our first man on the podcast. We've got Alex Clapp. Now, I should say that it was never intentional. It was never intended to be a women-only podcast, but that are the people who have applied and the people that I sort of know, obviously. But I think actually it's probably something we'll discuss with Alex. It's perhaps a sign of the fact that a lot of men don't feel comfortable talking about their mental health and being vulnerable. And I know that's something that's really important to Alex. So I'm very pleased that it's Alex actually who is our first man, because I think he'll be able to speak to that really well. So Alex is MD of County Cost Consultants, which is a legal cost business. But I think his new passion project is the Clarity Group, which is a new corporate wellness group focused around sober events. So welcome, Alex, to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here, and thanks very much for having me. I'm excited to be the first man.
Yeah, it's a historic moment.
A historic moment. It'll go down in history. I'm the first man on
Yeah,
your podcast. I love it. I love it.
yeah. Hopefully you'll inspire many more men to come on and talk a bit more about their mental health, because I know that's
Yeah,
really important to you, isn't it?
1,000,000%. Yeah, I'm trying to basically take all of the parts of my journey and my past to try and help other people, I guess. And one of the things is for more people to speak about what their struggles are, or for more people to be brave enough to say that they're struggling, or realize that they're not alone. So yeah, hopefully that some other people might get inspiration from listening, and pick up on a few bits that we discussed. That would be amazing.
Definitely. So, how have you gone from cost draftsman to setting up a sober company? Because I know I'm a lawyer myself originally, so it's interesting to see how we've both come to a point in our lives where we're perhaps going down a different path. So, do you want to take us a bit through that journey?
Yeah, by all means. I mean, I guess a long story short, I've had my own business and various other businesses that I've set up and invested in, and I would guess I'm always liked, to be looked at as a bit of an entrepreneur. I like to be busy, etc. And um, I had a few personal health problems about 5 or 6 years ago, and it ended up where I have lost the sight in my left eye, about 90% of the sight in my left eye. And at one point, my right eye was going as well, and I was almost having to prepare myself with the possibility of going blind. And that was quite a scary place to be. But me being me, to the outside world, everything was fine. And, I made jokes about it all, and I dealt with it as I'd always done with, you put a brave face on to the outside world, and deep down, you don't actually face what's going on internally. And I was probably petrified little boy that didn't know how to express his feelings or deal with any feelings. And I chose to run away. I chose to run away from everything, and I chose to run away. And I decided, well, I didn't decide, but I became a pretty good alcoholic, to be honest. I went from being a very sociable drinker and, very outgoing, bubbly person, to being drinking from first thing in the morning till last thing at night, and isolating and hiding away from the world, and deciding to try and use alcohol to fix my problems. And it did anything but fix my problems. It took me down a very dark and lonely and horrible place, to the point that I got to was the probably the rock bottom of not caring whether I was still here or not, to be honest. I actually didn't care whether I lived or died anymore. I reached that horrible point where you can't see any good in anything. And yeah, it was very sad, and even thinking about it now, it makes me, fill up a little bit, to be honest.
Mm, yeah.
Because it was a really tough time, and it was a really emotional, but not emotional because I wouldn't let it be emotional. And I ran away from all the feelings and the problems, and I just nullified everything with alcohol. And yeah, it's so. I guess after being on that very, mixed journey myself, when I've come into recovery and um, it's given me a passion for trying to help other people. And my passion's, to just try and help other people realise that there is another way, to realise that what I used to perceive as being strong or weak is totally the opposite. It takes a stronger person to put their hand up and admit that they're struggling. It takes a stronger person to have the strength to be their authentic self the whole time, and it takes a stronger person, to actually always be honest with themselves. And I guess that's where it's gone for me. And I've set up the Clarity group, and we do lots of big corporate sober events. We now do Club Clarity, which is individual alcohol-free events, and we do some events within communities as well. Some different bits, whether it be training, whether it be bringing people together to do movement, dance classes, anything. Effectively, all it's trying to do is to get rid of any judgment, to get rid of any preconception that you need Dutch courage or that you can't be yourself, and you can come to anything with no judgment and no fear of what will somebody else think, or how do I have to look, or do I need to wear this or do I need to wear that, or it's just allowing people to 100% be themselves and be around like-minded people. And I think it's really powerful for me. And I guess I would say that some of the inspiration has come from some of the recovery groups that I've been to. I don't actually go myself to regularly to NA, to AA, to actually any specific recovery group. I do some online meetings with some fellow people who I've met in recovery, and we just catch up a couple of times a week, once a week, whatever I personally need at the time. But it opened my eyes over the last so many years to the fact that anybody and everybody can walk into these recovery groups and there is no judgment, and you can say anything and tell each other anything, and it's a safe space to do it. And it's almost like, well, why can't that exist in the world without people having to get to recovery? Why can't that exist in the world, without people needing to have got to a rock bottom? Why can't it exist in the world, before somebody really falls off a cliff? And I guess I'm never going to fix everything in the world, but I can certainly try and help a few people. And if I can help a few people along the way, I guess that's where my passion is at the moment. So yeah, I guess I hope that gives you a bit of a, and I haven't just waffled on.
No, that sounds great because I think, as I said, I'm sober myself and haven't drunk for 6 years. No, didn't get to the point of being an alcoholic, but I was certainly dependent on it, and I couldn't ever imagine a life without alcohol. And I think it's only when you stop you realise how alcocentric, I call it, our society is. That everything is focused around, like you say, Dutch courage or wetting the baby's head, or like, if you go to a wedding, everyone's going to get smashed, or and it is really good to actually offer an alternative, because I think there's so many people out there who want that, and like you say, that lack of judgment of and not getting to rock bottom and actually being able to connect with people who are like-minded stops that isolation, doesn't it?
Yeah, the isolation is so, because I, I just isolated because I thought I couldn't face people. I didn't want to, get questions. I didn't want to, actually have to accept that I was in a terrible place and that I was, really struggling, and I didn't want anybody to actually ever realise. So it was easier to isolate and hide away from the problem. And that was the easiest thing to do. The harder thing was to actually put my hands up and ask for help and to tell people how I was truly feeling. And I couldn't do that at the time. I couldn't do that. I wasn't strong enough to do that at the time. Um, and it's a shame. It's a shame, that I had to carry on going through everything that I went through and probably put all my family and friends and all people who I loved and cared about through a horrendous time, to be honest. I recall back to my mum having conversations with my brother saying, that she was expecting the phone to ring any night and say that I'd been found dead. And that's a dreadful place for my mum to be in.
Yeah.
And I've got my own son, and I couldn't think of anything more worrying or more, than imagining there's nothing you can do for that person, and that person won't let you in. They won't accept that they've got a problem, and they won't accept any help, and it must be so frustrating. So I guess I'm just trying to, encourage change, but encourage change without telling people what to do, because I
Yeah.
know I know that telling somebody what to do just does not work. And I can't fix everybody. I would love to have a magic wand, and I would love to be able to fix anybody and everybody. And very sadly, I've learned, I've lost quite a few friends in the last few years, and many of those have left behind young children and families, and I'm never going to be able to fix anybody else, but hopefully I can show a few people that there is a different way. And I would love to encourage people to, come and try our nights and, be comfortable in your own skin and stop caring what other people think, and find the like-minded people that you can be 100% yourself with, and there's no judgment, because there is so many people out there. We do exist, they do exist, and it takes more people to be brave and be comfortable in their own skin to see it, grow and grow effectively.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned the B word there, so you've moved us brilliantly on to our first pillar. So, the Building Bliss podcast is founded on the 5 pillars of bliss, which are bravery, laughter, inspiration, spark, and success. So, starting with the B for bravery, can you pick out one moment in your life that you think you're bravest?
Ooh, that I'm braver, or that I've shown bravery, I would guess is the question.
It's up to you how you interpret it, because I think a lot of people who are on the podcast have thought in the moment they didn't consider themselves as being brave, but when they look back, they actually realise it was a very brave thing or a brave decision that they actually took.
Yeah, I would guess one of my pivotal challenges was when I came out of recovery. When I came into recovery, sorry, and I'd kept everything from all of my clients. I'd never told any of my clients, obviously, what I'd gone through, etc. And um, I obviously used to socialise a lot with work and, client events and taking clients out, and, everything was quite centered around alcohol, etc. So I made a very conscious decision that I was going to um, email all of my clients and tell them all exactly what had happened, and that I am an alcoholic, and that I have had a tough time, and that I'm in recovery myself now. Um, and that was a very scary thought and a very scary process to have to go through, to have to reach out to anybody and everybody that you had ever done work for, and to hold your hand up and say I'm an alcoholic, and to worry about what other people's perception would be, and if people would not use me anymore, if people would, basically what they'd think of me, and all those processes that go through your mind. um, and I had to get comfortable with myself and say, listen, if somebody doesn't use me because of what I've been through in my life or the dark times that I've had, that's okay. That's their choice, and I'm not going to
Mm.
judge anybody else. I've just got to do what's right for me, and what was right for me was being honest. But it took some bravery to do it. It took some bravery to face up to the fear or the worry as to what somebody else would think. Um, but I faced it head on. And I heard a great quote the other day that, if you're having a tough time or going through it, then just keep going, run straight through it, go straight through it, face it
Mm.
head on and just keep going, and I really truly believe that. And I just faced the scary bit about it head on. I took the power away by opening up and being transparent. And I'll be honest, I got some amazing messages of support and feedback from various different clients, and a lot of love came back. A lot of love came back and support, and it was very touching. But it was hard. It was a hard decision to get to be honest and put your hands up and be vulnerable and to tell people. Um, so yeah, I would say that was probably a moment where I had to be brave, but it actually paid dividends and it helped me as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a really brave thing to do because, especially in the legal world, everything's very reputational. It's very, how you look, how people think of you. Especially, I'll call it the LinkedIn effect as
Yeah,
well of
yeah, yeah.
presenting yourself a certain way. And yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it? I mean, I had to do something similar, not to that extent, but my mum was seriously ill and looked like she was on a deathbed last year. She's still here as it happens, but I just completely lost it because it'd been over many years. And I had to actually, for the first time, say to my clients, look, I just can't work at the moment. My mind is not here. I'm not going to be serving you. But it took a lot of bravery to do it. But obviously, then if you've got decent people you work with, you get a lot of love back and you realise that if we all did that a bit more, it'd take a lot of pressure off us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about realizing what you need. I believe what I needed at the time, and I needed to be open. I needed to be
Mm.
honest because I live my life by an honest program now of being open and honest. And it was what I needed because I needed to be open and tell people so that I didn't have to hide away anymore. I didn't have to run away. I didn't have anything that was still hanging over me. That transparency of just being able to accept and tell everybody, tell the world effectively. Um, it meant that I didn't have anything to fear anymore. I didn't have anything to fear because I was accepting that was me, and that is what I'd gone through. And whether you want to judge me or you don't want to judge me, or you want to do whatever, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It
Yeah.
almost took the power away from it by being honest and facing it.
Yeah, because it's almost, especially when you've had a life that's centered on alcohol, you tend to have a bit of a double life.
Of
And
course, yeah.
which you've said, you're presenting one to the outside, this on the inside, and that openness actually gets rid of that double life effect, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah, because then clients aren't going to be asking me to go for a boozy lunch.
Yeah, yeah. Can you come to the races and
Yeah,
drink all
do you
day?
want to come to? I'll still go to the races, but I'm not drinking.
Mm,
But I don't need to justify it every single time. Then do I? I don't need to basically explain why I'm not drinking. I don't need to be sat around with people and people going, oh, go on, have one, and I'm going, no, no, I can't. And it's like it's out there. Everybody knows, and I've got nothing to fear anymore.
yeah. Well, I talk about I'm a stand-up comedian as well, and I talk about this in my comedy, and I say it's the only drug that people will go, oh, go on, just have one. And you're like, you think, well, if I was a heroin addict, would they be like, well, there you go, just have a syringe, it won't do any harm,
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
it's that's how embedded it is in society that people think just have one, and a lot of it's because they feel bad. I think that it's a reflection on their drinking. If you say you're not drinking, I don't know if you find that when you talk to people.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And I think as well, once you've had a couple of drinks, it's a mind-altering substance at the end of the day. And I always say that once people have had a few drinks and they're a bit intoxicated, you're not the same. You're not your authentic self. Whether you can handle your drink or not, you still have something in your system that changes you slightly. However it changes, and it changes each different person in a different way. Some people are happy drunks, some people are angry drunks, some people are sad drunks, and it's a drug. It's a mind-altering substance, and I guess that's we have to accept that when you put something in, just like when you take drugs, it's a mind-altering substance. They're all the same. It affects different people in different ways.
Well, it's even the same with caffeine, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
drug
one
that
million
most
percent.
people are
Yeah.
highly dependent on as well. So, yeah. So, have you got bravery as you've got older then? Because it sounds, if you were entrepreneurial, it sounds that you were probably quite willing to take a risk with certain things.
Yeah. I've always been um, quite risk taker. I've always been quite a risk taker. I've always, backed myself to, and I'll always do something and I'll do my best to make it work and, have that self belief that I can do it. Yeah, definitely. Um, I've always been quite risk. Yeah, I will always take some risks.
Yeah, it's in your nature.
It is in my nature, definitely. It is in my
Yeah,
nature, yeah.
yeah, I love that. So, moving on to the L then for laughter. How important's laughter been in getting through some of your dark times? Would you say?
Massively. Absolutely massively. Um, I guess, yeah, I mean, look, I've been to rehab quite a few times before I finally got clean and sober, and stepping out of the normal world and being in an environment with 10 to 20 other people, that are going through um, their own personal struggles for quite a period of time, between a month to 3 months I spent with various different people, and um, you haven't got any mind altering substances for that period of time. And it's amazing that you go back to almost the childhood, and we had so much fun at times where it was just genuine laughter, genuine reflection, genuine laughter, and that really picked me up to realize that, you know life is for living. Life is for living. Life is for living, and I am quite a sociable person, and I do like to have fun. And one of the biggest things that I said is when I came into recovery, and probably one of the biggest reasons as well why I wanted to set clarity up, was that just because I'm not having alcohol doesn't mean that my life's going to be boring, and I am going to have fun. I am going to have fun,
Mm,
and I'm going to show people that you can have, a lot of fun, and that entails a lot of laughter. And we have a lot of laughter at our events. Um, and I always say that in the first 13 years of my life, I never had alcohol, and I never had a mind altering substances effectively. So, and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I used to laugh a lot with my brothers growing up. We used to kill each other at times, but I used to have a lot of laughs, with my friends, everything. And they're the true moments of laughter, where it really touches you, and, you can't stop laughing. I remember when I was a child that me and my middle brother used to get sent away from the table because we would get laughing fits, and my dad would go mad
mm,
and he'd send us away. But then every time he sent us away, then we'd get worse, and it'd just carry on for about half an hour. And we'd have to
mm.
go and sit in the other room until we could calm down. But to us, it was the best thing ever. And
Yeah,
once you start, you can't stop. It's that contagious thing.
yeah. It's pure, isn't it? I mean, I must admit, I'm very guilty of that with my kids, and my wife has to send me away from the table because
Yeah.
I'm the one that can't stop laughing, especially because I do tell terrible dad jokes as well. But it's something so pure. And I guess that must have been, yeah, when you were in rehab with everything stripped away and you're just totally in your own thoughts and everything. It's actually probably the most pure, authentic core self that you could get to.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. And I think that is probably one of the most powerful bits of being in a group at rehab, because it gives you an opportunity to, like you say, to go back to the core, the fundamentals, of no matter what's going on in the world outside, I'm not the most important person in the world. I don't, dictate, whether the world's going to survive or not. Um, and in those moments, you realise that of the pure connection and the pure fun and the pure joy that you can actually still have. Um,
Mm.
and that was, yeah, and yeah, I always beat my drum about it, but whether it's rehab or not rehab, if every single person in the world had 28 days where they could step outside of the world and spend 28 days in a group like that working on yourself, the world would be such a better place. Such a better place.
Yeah, 100% agree with that because, well, one of my favourite quotes is all of man's problems stem from the fact that he can't sit alone with his thoughts quietly. And I think there's a lot to do with that. We just layer distraction on ourselves to distract from what we're actually feeling and thinking. And if we could, like you say, just go and just let go of all that. And it doesn't have to be rock bottom. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? You don't have to get to
One
rock
million,
bottom.
yeah, I totally, and I love that. It doesn't have to, and this is the thing, it doesn't have to be rock bottom. And, that's why I say it doesn't have to be rehab, it's just having that time to work on yourself. Um, yeah, and I was probably the world's worst. I couldn't sit still for 2 minutes. Um, and I remember going my first rehab. I wanted to be fixed inside the first 4 days, and I kept on going and asking for my next assignment. And then I'd be emailing the head therapist at like five in the morning, going, "Okay, I've done some research, and this is what I think, and this is what I think." And he was like that to me. "What are you doing?" And I was like, "That, can I have my next assignment, please?" And he was going, "No, no."
You're approaching it like you would your business, aren't you? Or yeah, you're like, right, well, I need to get as much information as possible, and then I'll be able to fix it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Basically, yeah. It
yeah,
was. But even looking back at that, it's funny. It's just funny how you change, um, and it's funny how I used to be, um, definitely. It's yeah. I don't know. It's quite emotional when you look back and when you reflect on it all, and you think about where
mm,
you are in the journey so far, or where you were, where I am today, and obviously, the path and the journey that I've been on. Effectively, it's quite emotional, really.
yeah. And suppose in some ways that's good to have that laughter though, so that you can temper that emotion and think,
Yeah,
well, yeah, you can look back with a bit of a laugh and acknowledge that obviously you've been through some dark times within that process, but also that your humour did help you through it and look back
one
with
million,
a
one
better glow.
million percent. Yeah, my humour definitely helped me through it a lot, and it continues to help me through life a lot because life is, it's a journey, and it's for enjoying as well. Yes, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be lonely. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be everything, but it's okay to have fun as well. It's okay to laugh.
Yeah,
It's okay to laugh,
well,
and
that's good. Yeah,
it's okay to be
that's why I love.
happy.
I think yeah, and I think that's why I love the sound of your events to show people that you can still be happy and have fun without alcohol. And I think when people have got it so reinforced over years. I mean, I remember when I stopped, like, I love going out dancing, raving, like to house music. And so that was my biggest thing is could I still go out and get on a dance floor and enjoy myself? And then I realized it was never the drink. It was always the music and being there and dancing with other people And once I realised that, I was away and actually love it. I love going and I love getting in my car at the end of the night and driving home and sleeping in my own bed. And it's like, this is just magic. And
Bliss,
when I'm there,
bliss.
people go, yeah, people are like, what you on? What you on? I'm like, water. There's literally water. And they're like, oh my God, I could never come and do this. So I love the fact that your events are actually inspiring that in other people.
Yeah, yeah, it's powerful. It is powerful, and it's lovely. It's lovely to see. To be honest, it is lovely to see. Um, and I'm crazy anyway. I don't need, anything. You know, I'm like crazy. I'll dance. There's nothing I won't do sober. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it and lead by example effectively.
Yeah. Well, that moves us on brilliantly to inspiration then. So I'll ask you first, are there any sources of inspiration for you, either people or books or anything of your experiences that have inspired you?
I think my inspiration at the moment is so yeah. So I'm working with two amazing charities at the moment. Of for the last 16, 18 months, I've been working with NICOA, which is the National Organisation of Children of Alcoholics, and what they do and what they provide um, with hardly any funding is amazing, and it's very passionate to me. And I'm actually volunteering for them. I'm going to do a couple of days volunteering for them next week in London, and I think it's so poignant to me because of what my son went through with me, but I also know what all children probably go through. You know, I've been around obviously a lot of alcoholics, and I've been in various different rehabs, and I think I've seen firsthand what it's done, and what I put my son through and my family through, and what they do is obviously offer support to the other side of the alcoholics, and I think that is very very needed, because it's not what you are going through sometimes; it's what you put other people through without even realizing it. So that's a big inspiration. I want to try and help those guys, to carry on. They haven't got, they don't get a lot of funding, they don't get anything from the government, and so that's a big inspiration for me to work alongside with those guys. And then I'm just we're partnering up with Ripple, which is Alice Hendy's suicide prevention software that she built herself after her brother passed away, after her brother committed suicide a few years ago. And again, I just think she's designed something, and she's got an MBE for it. But again, it's a charity. Again, she gives it away to all schools and all, local things for nothing. And I think it's just inspirational that working alongside other people who are trying to help other people. And that's what inspires me. Seeing other people doing good things and wanting to try and help and to, do good things, really. Do good things. I think, I know I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of in my life, and I've probably done, I accept I've done a lot of bad things at times, where, I can't remember. I can't remember some of the stuff. So I can't.
Yeah.
I'm no angel, and I know that. And I think I almost look at it as I've got a second chance. I describe it as I went upstairs, and whoever I met upstairs turned around and went, "You ain't coming in yet. You're going back down there, and you've got another purpose. You've got a purpose meant for you." And now I believe my purpose is to try and help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my
Yeah.
inspiration comes from. My inspiration isn't to make money. My inspiration isn't to be, all that. My inspiration is just to try and be able to touch and help a few other people. That's what inspires me.
Yeah. But it's like you've turned a negative into a positive then as well, haven't you? From
Yeah, one
It's
million
almost like
percent.
reverse inspiration.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah, yeah. I'd say yeah, a negative to a positive because I could be dead. I could be dead. I could sit moping around, going on about my eyes, and go down a rabbit hole, and all the rest of it, or I could go. I can't change. I can't change the hand that I've been dealt, but I can deal with it. I can live with it, and I can make the best of it. And that's what I'm doing. You know,
Mm,
I'm going to make the best of everything in my life. And for me, it's by being present and by not drinking. I'm present every day. I'm present, and I get to enjoy everything. I get to remember everything, and I get to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and what I'm saying. Um, and that in itself is powerful. Um, so yeah, I guess it's nice.
yeah,
It's good to be inspired by other people doing good things as well, I think.
yeah. So how would you like to inspire other people with your story? Because I think it is very inspirational. But is there one sort of core theme that if you could plant a seed in everybody's head, what do you think that would be?
think I think it's being brave enough to uh, try and accept yourself. I'm not telling people to love yourself because I think loving one, I describe it to my son that I have been on a journey in the last 3 years, let's say, where I started not knowing myself and not knowing really who I was, and now I've got to a stage where I like myself, and my ultimate goal is to find inner peace. Find inner peace where I don't have uncomfortable thoughts about my body. I don't care that my hair's receding. I'm not bothered about what I wear. I'm 100% comfortable in myself all the time, and what I say and what I do. And just like Kung Fu Panda, I describe it as I'm searching for that inner peace, where I'm just comfortable in my own skin. And I think the more that we can all begin to be our authentic self and not try and be somebody that you think somebody else wants, or somebody that you think somebody else needs, or, the more that we can stop, deciding in our heads what other people are thinking or judging ourselves all the time. It's like almost be kind to yourself, and start actually thinking about what it is that you need, I need, what is important to me. And it's a starting point. It's a starting point, I think. I don't know if I waffled then.
No, I like that. But just a thought that's come to me. Would you've obviously been on a very reflective journey. Would you say, looking back now, before everything that happened with your eyesight, that you were happy and content and you were living your authentic life?
No,
Or can
no,
you look back
not
now and go,
not not
actually, no, I wasn't?
not at all. Not at all. I'll be honest. I think I used to live a life that I thought other people expected. I used to live a life that I tried to make everyone else happy because I never liked myself deep down inside. I used to, I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know
Mm,
what I liked. I didn't even know who Alex really was. I just used to put blocks on blocks on blocks, to try and fix everybody else, to try and look after everyone else, to try and make everyone else happy, to try and make myself happy. I was totally lost. I was totally lost.
mm,
Um, and I hold my hands up, and I'll tell anybody that. I'll be honest and say, yeah, I was totally lost. I didn't have a clue. And to the outside world, I probably looked like I had everything and was, in a great situation,
yeah.
to the outside world. But it just shows that you never know. It's about what's going on inside, and it's about how you feel. It's not about anybody else. So you're right though. It's been a very reflective journey. It's been an
Yeah.
incredibly powerful journey, and I still reflect every day. I still take a time to myself each day just to think: have I dealt with things as well as I could have done? Have I been a bit shitty with anybody? Do I need to just you know you know say sorry if I'm funny?
Make
Because
friends. Yeah.
but I'll accept that as well. I'll accept. Yes, I still get angry. Yes, I still get cross. Yes, I have every single emotion, and that I've probably gone from not being closed off to all of my emotions to actually having every single emotion these days. Um,
Yeah.
and the people say the good thing about recovery is that you get your emotions back, but they also say the bad thing about recovery is you get your emotions back.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I'm very similar that because I went down a Buddhist path as well, and a lot of it is like, oh, you shouldn't get angry, and actually, you do need to get
Yeah,
angry.
you do. Yeah, you
My
do.
tagline is I'm the angriest Buddhist in the world because I get angry at very tiny things. But I think it is that you do have to sort of face your feelings a lot more because normally you would take a drink to
Yeah,
to blot out that feeling,
ex-
wouldn't you?
exactly. And it's okay. It's okay to get angry. It's okay. I always say it's okay to have all these feelings, and I can't choose about how or when I have these feelings. The only choice I've got is what I choose to do with that feeling. So
Yeah.
if I get really angry, I've got a choice whether I go and punch somebody, hit somebody over the head, or whether I choose to go outside and go, or whatever, however I want to deal with it.
Scream into a pillow,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it
but
is. Yeah.
however I want to deal with it, that's my choice. I still make that choice as to how I want to deal with it. And it's the same with anything. If I'm really sad, I can choose to sit, hide away, and cry on my own, or I can sit to go and talk to a friend or family member, have a bit of a cry, have a hug, and feel better about it. I've got a
Mm,
choice. I've always got a
yeah.
choice. I've always got a choice, but I don't always. I never used to allow myself to have emotions and feelings. To be honest, I used to run away from it all. But my brother used to say I was like a rock. In terms of emotions, I was like a rock.
Mm. But you see, that's another thing, isn't it? So when someone's described as a rock, that's seen as a positive, isn't it? Oh, you're my rock. But actually, when you look at that rock in terms of what you've just said about emotions,
Yeah,
then that's actually quite a negative thing, isn't it?
yeah, and it can be looked at very differently. Whereas if you've got somebody who's completely open, honest, and shows every one of their emotions, that is actually a stronger person.
Mm, definitely. So that moves us on to the S then, which is spark. The spark, we've had a lot of discussion about what is spark. So I always ask people, well, what do you define as spark? And then what gives you your spark? So this is kind of like what gives you your get up and go on a daily basis.
I have to say, and it's the warm feeling I get in my heart, like genuinely, and I think when I get some feedback from some of the people who come to some of our events, and it's very powerful and touching. When I get lovely messages of different stuff that I've done to try and help, and it's had a positive impact on other people, it's like a warm feeling in my heart. When I teach kids boxing, and I've taught a lot of kids various different sports over the years, and when I see a child come in and see them progress and see the growth and the them growing and the confidence and everything, and I remember once seeing a lad who struggled a little bit scoring a goal at football, and I will never forget that moment of his little face. Um, the ball almost hit him and went in, but it was the most powerful moment of seeing him turn around and just smile. that he'd scored his first ever goal. And probably, I don't think he'll have gone on to score many more, but that doesn't matter. You know, it was just that one moment, and the whole team ran over. And he wasn't the best footballer in the world by any means, but it was the whole team support that was so pleased for him. And that sort of stuff just gives me my spark. That there is a lot of good in the world, and sometimes we don't see the good for focusing on all the rubbish. And I think sometimes being able to, just have those little moments of sparks of like niceness.
Yeah, and
And I think,
that's a better buzz than anything that you could take would ever give you, isn't it?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. You could offer me all the money in the world, or to have a life full of those little sparks, and I would take the life full of those little sparks every day of the week. Every day of the week, because it's something more powerful, more genuine, more rewarding, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, and we all need to tune in, don't we? We need to tune in and be aware. So, like you say, I think we're predisposed to the negative, especially if you're doom scrolling and watching the news, because there's no good news channel, is there? It's only bad news.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And sometimes you don't see it, do you? You don't see it, or you don't, go back to it. And sometimes you need to go back to those little spark moments. You know, like if if one of your children's driving you mad, go back to that moment where they rode the bike for the first time with a little smile on their face, or their first day of school, and when they were dressed in the uniform, your spark in your heart of that moment when you take the photo of them on the step or wherever you do it. Those little things that actually, and you can use it, the spark, you can use it to go back and actually pick out good things in anything. And I think we sometimes don't reflect enough about those little positive sparks. Everybody gets focused on the negatives, don't they?
Well, that's like everyone talks about their triggers, but there's a wave of talking about glimmers now of
Yeah,
those little moments like that. That's a great thing. I do love. I've got time hop, and I love it when the pictures of the kids come up from like 8 years ago, and like you say,
yeah,
they were either riding a bike or they've got a funny hat on or they were dressed up for, and you're like, because it is hard once they become teenagers
yeah,
and they're going through that difficult stage, and you're like, let's just remember the good times we had while we get through this
yeah.
journey
Exactly,
of
exactly, exactly. And it's a journey, isn't it? Nothing, it's a journey. You're gonna have those moments. It's not always going to be plain sailing. It's not always going to be, what people perceive to be perfect. But as long as you're on that journey together, that's the most important thing.
well, that brings us lovely then onto the final S for success. So what does success look like for you now, and has that changed over the years?
Yeah, success always used to be about money for me. I was very driven about making money, and that was how I defined success. Definitely, in the past, and my whole ethos around that, mantra around that, however you want to describe it, has totally changed. Success now for me is being happy, being my authentic self, being happy, and being present in my life, and yeah, being a good role model for my son, being a good support for my family, but in a open, honest, and present way. And yeah, I think the success is learning to enjoy my life, learning to be present, learning to be able to be comfortable in my own skin. Um, yeah, it's such the polar opposite from where I would have always defined success at years ago. And I don't care about money. I never really have done, but I've always had that want to measure and success be about doing well and stuff like that financially, but yeah, success now is just about being content, being happy, being the best version of me that I can be, um, and giving stuff back. Giving stuff back. I think the more
Mm.
stuff I give back, um, that's my success. Being able to try and help other people and try and give something back.
Yeah, I love that. And I think from the depths that you've been in, I guess you must treasure every day that you're here, really.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do, to be honest. I've got a lot of people to be grateful for. My brother, and my brother, my middle brother was a massive, part in getting me sorted. I will always be massively grateful to him. My son inspired me, and made me, my family all stood by me through thick and thin, and I'm very lucky to have had all that. Yeah, I'm very privileged to have had all that, and I'm privileged in the fact that I was able to go to rehabs around the world and to work on myself, and I'll always be grateful. Um, but yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey,
Yeah,
but do you know what? And I get emotional. I get quite. I was filling up then, just reflected on like all the journey, but now it's like it's a positive journey because now it's time to be a leader. Be a leader. Show people that anything's possible. Show people that um, to be their authentic self, to have a bit of confidence, to stop worrying about judgment, stop worrying about what other people think, and to actually be comfortable in their own skin. Um, and that excites me, and it excites me where I want to go and what I want to do with Clarity, with Club Clarity, and I'm loving the journey I'm on, and I'm loving all the amazing people that I'm meeting, talking to, becoming friends with, and it's really powerful. It's really powerful. And I'm
yeah,
blessed. I'm blessed, to have been given a second chance. Um, and I'm probably one of the very lucky few that find a way out of the disease of addiction as well. Um,
mm,
and that's I also reflect on how many people will never find a way out, and how many people will lose somebody to it, and how many children will lose loved ones, families will lose loved ones, and I continue to see it. So it's always be grateful for what you've got.
yeah. But hopefully, with the things that you're doing, I think that we will move away from alcohol being so important. I think it's something like a quarter of 18 to 25-year-olds don't drink anymore. And hopefully, it might be a generational change. It might be one that you're not here to see by the
Yeah,
time it actually comes
yeah, I think you're
around. But
right.
I
Yeah,
do think that things are changing, that hopefully, in the very long term, it won't be as much of an issue for people.
yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, definitely. And I think I look back to the era before and the era before that, and you think about how much we are beginning to talk, how much men are starting to open up, how much we're all willing to share some of our feelings, some of our journeys, etc. And that never used to happen. So we're on the right path. We're definitely on the right path, and hopefully, as you say, you know, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. But I think positive step by step, and positive
Yeah,
changes, isn't it?
yeah. One day at a time, as the old adage goes.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, yeah. So our final question then is: I ask people what their younger self would say if they could see them now, and I guess this is an interesting one for you because it's almost like you've had two lives, isn't it?
Yeah,
it you,
yeah,
there's a younger self that would talk to you pre everything that happened, and then a younger self that might talk to you now. It might be two different things they say.
Yeah, I think the first younger self would have probably been sort of judging success on, business and money and, all the rest of it, definitely. And I think, yeah, that would have been a different conversation. And the new younger self would be proud over the bravery, the vulnerability, the honesty, and, the leadership of change. So it would be two very different conversations, I think. And isn't that
Yeah.
strange how it would be two very different conversations? How the first one, pre everything that I'd been through, would have been all around business success, money success, what you've built, etc., or what would have defined what I used to define as success. And the new younger version of, sorry, now the younger version of me would be talking about the bravery, the vulnerability, the leadership in terms of trying to change and help people. And yeah, very, very different, very different.
Mm.
And that in itself is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. It shows you how far you've come, doesn't it?
It shows me that I've been on a journey, that's for sure. Um, and it's had a few bumps in the road, shall we say? Hey?
Yeah. As always, life doesn't go smoothly, does it? I think that's one thing you do have to learn is
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can't
and it's okay.
can't eradicate all problems. So, as you said before about your choice, it's how you choose how you react to a problem. That's the power you've got. You can't eradicate problems. Things are always going to happen. So, it's how you deal with them that counts.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, and I just love the fact that I'm now not in a rush. I'm now not in a rush. I'm just taking it day by day, and the more patient I am, and the more open I am, the more good things are coming my way as well. And I love that. And the more great connections I'm making, and more inspirational people I'm meeting, and the world's a really good place. The world is a really good place, and sometimes we forget that, and we forget how many amazing people there are in this world. Um, and we've just got to have that bravery to be ourselves, and find who we connect with and who we are truly, align with, and not worry about what anyone else thinks. Um, yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm always excited, but I'm excited about what I'm trying to do and where we're trying to take things, and you know that we're making some small positive changes. So, and that's enough for today.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant place to wrap up and a brilliant message to wrap up on. So, thank you for being on the podcast. That's been so brilliant to listen to. You gave me goosebumps quite a few times talking about where you've been and where you've come from and where you are now. So, thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability. Do you want to tell us where people can find out more about Club Clarity and the things that they can get involved with?
Yeah. So, Club Clarity, we're on, and Clarity is spelled CLARITEE, because it's a play on
Yeah,
teetotal. Um,
yeah,
so
like
we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We've got Clarity normal, and then we've got Club Clarity. Yeah, we're on all the social media stuff. We're just about to announce that we're going to London to do a couple of Club Clarity nights as well. We've got a big corporate, the UK's first um, alcohol-free company awards night that we're doing in Liverpool in September, the Shine
oh wow,
Awards, which is going to be massive. And then in November we've got an event in Portsmouth that we're doing with Ripple, the suicide prevention charity. So we're doing a big alcohol-free corporate event down in Portsmouth as well. So yeah, we've got a few bits going on, shall we say? Um,
yeah.
and yeah, we've got a lot going on. So anybody who fancies keeping an eye on us, anybody who fancies coming to any of our events, get in touch. We'd love to see anybody and everybody. So yeah, be amazing.
Excellent. I'm definitely going to come and try and check one out in Chester or Liverpool myself. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for having me as well. It's been absolutely fabulous.
No problem. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much.